What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the UFC 266 betting show. Myself and my good friend Graham McDonald is here. We take a look at UFC 266, which goes down this Saturday night. It's in Vegas. I'm not even sure where it's on, to be honest. But anyway, we must tell you that this episode is free for everyone because of our good friends over at BetUS. As you can see here, if you go to severemma.com/BetUS, it'll take you right here. You got 125% sign-up bonuses open to our friends in the US and Canada, and everyone knows sports betting season is in full force. The NHL, NBA, the NFL is just starting back as well, and obviously big MMA event this week with UFC 266. You may already know this, but BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. This is betus.com, and they have loads of bonuses. Join now or call 800-69-BET-US. That is 800-MY-BET-US. Receive 125% sign-up bonus by using the code SEVEREMMA. They have re-up and referral bonus offers too. BetUS is known as America's favorite sportsbook. BetUS has all your NBA, NHL games with player props, and the same with MMA. You can see them all if you go to the UFC tab for this weekend. They have the Ryder Cup coming up as well as, I think it's already kicked off, or it's on this weekend anyway. If not, the casino, racing, and everything on mobile and on the web as well. So follow my lead and the lead of thousands before you. Get your phone, online, and social betting partner and get the one with integrity and longevity. BetUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS. Go to severemma.com/BetUS and use the promo code SevereMMA for 125% sign-up bonus. US and Canada will get that. So, Graham, we have UFC 266 this weekend. Volkanovski versus Ortega. Diaz as well, making his long-awaited comeback against Robbie Lawler. And we also have the women's flyweight title fight, Valentina Shevchenko against Lauren Murphy. I want to start with the main event, though, because there's been a lot of talk this week, I think, about Diaz versus Lawler, and, you know, rightly so. Nick Diaz is the star on the show, I suppose. But I think this main event is a very fascinating one, because I went back and watched a good few fights of both men. And I feel like this is a more Volkanovski fight than it is an Ortega fight, to be honest. Like, even looking at the odds here, it's very close, like 4-7 Volkanovski at the moment, 11-10. Obviously these odds are kind of moving all the time, especially the Diaz Lawler one, which we will get to. I favor Volkanovski here, and your first bet, I know you've gone for Volkanovski to win on points. You favor him in a big way too.
Yeah, well, I think, as you mentioned, as we talked about on the podcast, Volkanovski's strength of competition has been a lot higher, and I think, as I mentioned, he's probably the most underrated champion, or one of the most underrated high-level fighters in the UFC, in my opinion. He doesn't really get the respect he deserves for the level of competition he's beaten and being the champion, and his skill set and his performances. So I think Ortega's obviously made a lot of strides in his striking, and he's not just a jiu-jitsu guy anymore like maybe he was before. But I think, his style of maybe taking hits to give hits is not really going to work against Volkanovski. Volkanovski's going to be too fast for him on the feet, I think. I think he's a very good game planner and very good at sticking to a game plan, and he's been 5 rounds a good few times now. So I think there's a lot of advantages for Volkanovski here. I think he'll be wary of, obviously, the ground game and even clinching with Ortega. I think we've seen Ortega, pull modified guillotines on the feet and things like that. So I think that'll be part of the game plan to kind of not really follow him into any potentially grappling situations, and just kind of beat him up on the feet as much as possible for 5 rounds.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, and I know you've gone for points win at 13-10, and just check my notes here. I was looking at it, and I just think the line is too close. I really do. I think Volkanovski, and when I say the line is too close, I think Volkanovski has ways to win it, but all the ways to win it are kind of I'm not sure which one he's gonna do it like. Okay, he's not gonna submit him, I don't think. But if I was to pick, I would probably say he will win on points. But I just feel like after watching some of his old fights, and watching the Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega again, I feel like that Brian Ortega performance was maybe not as good as it looked at the time. It was a good performance, don't get me wrong, in any way, shape, or form, but it wasn't as standout as, say, Volkanovski against the Holloway twice over, 10 rounds. I think that's the sort of standout performance that I would be looking at more coming in here. And Volkanovski is. I'm very interested because when you fight Max Holloway, you have to kind of adjust your game plan because Max Holloway is very tough. He can go 5 rounds. He's the cardio and he's an all-around game. Whereas Volkanovski before, and the same with say someone like Ronaldo, but Volkanovski was more of kind of an attacking, aggressive fighter before that, and I'd be interested to see if he kind of adjusts his game a little bit here and is more attacking and more aggressive against Brian Ortega, and that's why I've kind of stayed away from this a little bit because I think you could be right, absolutely, with the decision win here, but I feel like he could get a finish.
I think the 5 rounds, the 5 rounds is probably part of the reason why he conserves and kind of maybe doesn't go for the finish as much. We've seen that with a lot of champions, like dating back to GSP and probably before. So I think it's not that he plays it safe, but he doesn't take big risks if at all possible, and people like Max Holloway, who after his last performance, people were talking about, is he the best boxer in the UFC? Oh, he's amazing, but for some reason Volkanovski just hasn't got the rub off these legends like Holloway and Aldo who he's beaten. So I think maybe it could end up being like a late TKO or something, but I think Brian Ortega is very tough and will always have that wariness in Volkanovski's mind about going to the ground unless he's sure that he's finished him before following him for ground and pound.
100%. I'm looking at the odds here. Volkanovski 7-2 at the moment. Obviously, that can change again. 11-8, but you got the power price, I think, on that with the Irish bet, but on BetUS as well. The American price as well. It's just around that as well. 12-1 by submission. That's probably not going to happen. 6-1 Ortega KO. 9-2 on points and 13-2 by submission. So if you do fancy Ortega in this one, there's a lot of money to be made on him if you can pick the right one there. But yeah, I feel like this is going to be a fight for Volkanovski, and I think as you kind of mentioned there, Graham, late or a decision, I think is probably how it's going to go here. So that's your first bet. My first bet, I'm going for Valentina Shevchenko to win by submission, and that is 5-1 at the moment. It was 6-1 the other day, actually, I checked. So that's moving in now a little bit at this stage. And I think as we get closer, Shevchenko will move in because people will be putting her in parlays and different things. And, people will be betting on her, even if it is something like this where it's a bit of a higher odds just because she's going to win. It's just, the method, you could take a chance on that. But I think Shevchenko, it was funny, I was listening to Chael Sonnen saying something the other day, and I wouldn't normally listen to Chael Sonnen saying much these days, to be honest, but I was listening to him talking about how Shevchenko, he used to think her ground game was the weakness, and that to win the fight you have to get her to the ground, and now getting her to the ground is almost as tough as fighting her on the feet, because we've seen she knocked out Jessica Eye, and did she knock out someone more recently as well, but a lot of her fights have been going to the ground, and maybe it could be a ground and pound or something like that, but I feel like she has been looking for submissions throughout her last few fights. She's gotten a couple of submissions in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken, but the fact that she just gets the fight to the ground, and people know if you get the fight to the ground against Shevchenko and she lands on top, she is vicious there, and her elbows and everything like that, she's just a really vicious fighter there. You're going to open up, you're going to give yourself try to give yourself the opportunity to either get back up, to get her down or push her against the cage, or to get on top. And I think that's a dangerous game, and that's how you get caught in submissions, at the highest level. And I also think we talk about submissions in MMA and maybe not seeing as many at the highest level. And this is going against my bet from the start of the year, where I said there would only be one submission in UFC championship fights. But if you look at where we see submissions in MMA these days are either lower level fighter versus lower level fighter, or high level fighter against not necessarily a lower level fighter, but if there's a gap in the abilities between the two of them, that's where you see submissions in MMA. And that's exactly what we have here. There's a big gap between Lauren Murphy and Valentina Shevchenko. Don't get me wrong, Murphy deserves this title shot. She's done very well, but she has little to no chance to win here. And I think the submission at 5-1. I think that's a good bet. I think that's a good bet. You've avoided this one, Graham. What is your thing?
Yeah, she's never been finished, but like, you would think she probably will get finished in this fight, but she is extremely tough, and would probably, I'm not sure, could go either way. She could just tough it out and take a hell of a beating, or she could end up getting TKO. The ref could end up stopping it, like if she drops, or if there's a barrage and a standing TKO or something like that. So, betting on Valentina straight up isn't much of a bet. So yeah. I just stayed away from that one. I fancied the submission from the very start, so I'm going for it. So I'm gonna go with that one. I actually think this is the first card in a while I'm actually gonna maybe have a bet. I don't do that much betting. I like if I see something that sticks out. There are two bets to me that stick out in this, and that the next one is actually one we've both gone for, and this price has gone in and in and in. Robbie Lawler to win this fight. It was almost even money at one stage. Last night it was 4-5. Now it's 4-6. So this price is getting. You need to go down to the bookies or go to, if you're in the US and Canada, go to severebet.com/betus and bet on this now, because this price is not going to be there for a while. The weird thing about this as well, Graham, is, and we could talk about Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz as a fight, but I feel like I woke up this morning to the reaction to Brett Okamoto's interview with Nick Diaz, and everyone is talking like, "Oh, Nick Diaz said he doesn't want to fight. Nick Diaz doesn't love the game anymore. He doesn't." This is Nick Diaz, fighting. Though. Yeah,
he's been doing that for 10 fucking years. I actually, it reminded me.
But yesterday. It's been so long. A lot of people weren't around at that stage,
exactly.
Or have forgotten.
That's exactly the point I was going to make.
But they haven't been around, so
yeah,
they might have seen the odd clip or something, but they haven't really experienced Nick Diaz.
They don't understand him, and that was the whole point I was going to make. Because I tweeted out yesterday, Nick Diaz has never fought in Reebok shorts. That's how long he's been gone.
Yeah,
he went
crazy.
Venom to Venom. He went because he fought in his last one against Anderson Silva at Venom shorts, his own ones with the ad sponsors and everything, and now he's in Venom again. And that, that's obviously a bit of a factoid, but it also shows you how long he's been gone. And in that time, Conor McGregor's gone to superstardom, and he's brought so many new fans in with him. And, Ronda Rousey's been around and everything like that, and brought a lot of new fans with her. And now there's probably a bit of overlap there. I haven't looked up the dates a lot, but the pandemic also brought in a lot of new fans. And there's like this new MMA Twitter thing as well, which is around, which, there's a lot of these, kind of meme accounts and stuff and talking about the fights. And They don't know Nick Diaz. Like, they act like they're Nick Diaz fans. A lot of people.
Well, it's been 6.5 years since he fought. So that's a very long time.
Yeah.
And I'm not a month shy of 10 years since he last won a fight. So this is this is, to a lot of people, this is a new guy coming in, coming back.
I'm not taking shots at those people or anything. But that's just the fact of it. Like, they just don't know him, and I think that's funny. And
I think they would have heard of Nick Diaz. They would have known him. Oh, he's like Nate. Probably would have thought, he's just like Nate. But he's like Nate in a lot of ways. But he's also not. He's like also his own unique, weird person.
Nate is the sort of guy where he's way more coherent than Nick. Nate will say something and he'll make a point, or you see him with McGregor in the press conference, and it can be a back and forth 1-2 sort of thing. With Nick, it's like a 10-minute tirade, and he can, well, not tirade's the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
It's a stream of consciousness. It's just what his actual thoughts are just being spoken.
Just everyone.
No control.
I saw someone, I think it was Dan Stupp, put up a thing today, and it was like, Nick Diaz could say, "I hate fighting," 1 second, and then like a minute later say, "I love fighting," and when the reporter's like, "What, you just said you hated it?" He's like, "Yeah, I never said that." It's like, that's exactly what Nick Diaz
and people is. Like you get slapped.
Yeah, like get slapped, exactly, yeah. But I the problem with this is I kind of knew this was going to happen, and I don't think it should be happening. Like, if you think Nick Diaz was going to win yesterday at this time, and you don't think he was going to win after that interview, you don't know Nick Diaz very well. Now, I thought he was going to lose before the interview. I thought he was going to lose after it. It would make no difference. But this is Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz is like this. He's always talked. It's not talking shit. It's just as you said, stream of consciousness, just mad like lads high off their fucking face, talking shit, on a dark Saturday night or something like that. That's Nick Diaz 24/7. But the fight itself, like you
Well,
have.
before you break it into fight, what do you think about
Mm,
the move to middleweight, the late change?
I think that benefits Nick a bit. What do you think?
I don't know, like in a way it does, but if Nick is asking for this late on, does that mean that he's carrying an injury here and he can't make the weight? Because this guy does triathlons. He's a pretty fit guy. Why can't he make the weight?
Well,
Or he just doesn't want to. He doesn't
just
want to do
doesn't
the
want
media.
to.
He doesn't want to make the weight. Maybe.
Yeah, I think
It
it's more
does
that.
kind of raise a few questions, though.
It does raise a few questions, 100% raises questions, but I do think, and I think everyone thinks probably it's just he doesn't want to. I think Rebecca Hitman tweeted, I was like, Nick Diaz realized you have to cut weight, and he kind of
Yeah,
forgot.
he forgot.
for 10 years.
Oh, this is terrible. I forgot how bad this is. Let's not do this.
The one thing I think from that Brett Okamoto interview that sticks out to me is that, and it's hard to decipher what Nick Diaz is saying, but I believe he was saying was he reached out to some of his old team to ask him to come on board for this camp, and some people said no. Some people said, "Oh, I haven't spoken to you in a while, and I'm not coming on board." So that's interesting. Like, I don't think Nick is the sort of guy who trusts new people that well, or brings in kind of new people like that. Now, he said he did have a few, all right, but I think that's an interesting thing. But look, that's neither here nor there. I think the fight itself, like Nick. Nick was a great fighter when he was a great fighter, but I just feel like, as you said, not winning a fight in 10 years, being out of the cage for 6 years, being away from the sport as well for a long time. And I don't think he maybe fell off the wagon or fell onto the wagon maybe as much as some people make out. But I just think Robbie Lawler's been there and he's been fighting at a pretty good level. Now, Robbie Lawler isn't what he was either, make no mistake about that. But in the time Nick Diaz has been away, Robbie Lawler has won the UFC championship, defended it a couple of times, and then lost it again, and has been taking tough fights the whole way along. I just think Robbie will be too tough at the moment, and that's a funny thing to maybe say when you're fighting a Diaz brother, but when you're 6 years out of the cage, you're going to lose a little bit of that, 100%. And I just think Robbie Lawler is going to go in there, and he's just going to take the fight to Nick Diaz and take it from him, to be honest. And yeah, like I think it will probably be a slow fight for the first couple of rounds, but we've seen what Robbie Lawler fights over the last while. He has upped the pace a little bit, and I think the way Diaz fights as well, with the way judging is these days, it's going to be tougher for him to win the fight. And I think it'll probably be long, but I think Robbie Lawler will get the finish. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think Nick will try to drag it long, but after being out for so long, it's going to be hard. Like, you can be in shape, but being in fighting shape, I think, has shown in the past. We've seen in the past that it's different. His timing on his punches and his combinations be the same as it was? It's a long time out. How much sparring has he been doing in terms of like actual fight replication sparring? There's so many questions around Nick, and the game moves very quickly. Like in 6 years and 10 years, the game's a different game, and like it'd be great. It'd be a great story if Nick could come back here and win. And he's beaten Robbie before, and he was the underdog before, and Nick's kind of always relished the kind of underdog status, the me against the world. Nobody respects me. I don't get what I deserve. All that stuff. So Nick Diaz is a dangerous guy, but I think as you said, Robbie Lawler's been in there against top guys consistently. Okay, he hasn't won all those fights, but he hasn't been uncompetitive. He hasn't looked like washed up. It isn't a case of BJ Penn or anything like that. So I think it'll probably, it might be a late finish, or more likely a decision.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Yeah, I would. Curtis Blades is your next one. You against Jairzinho Rosenstruck. You fancy him to get the KOTK here, 11-8. Not a bad price, man. I assume you think he's going to take him down and beat him up.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll take him down, and Rosenstruck won't be able to do much from there. He'll get frustrated and probably get ground and pounded out. Curtis Blade hits hard, and I think he's he's a guy who's going to go for takedowns early and often, and I think he'll be able to get one of them. And I think that will probably be it.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that. Yeah, I was looking at the betting here, and I think that's probably the way to go. You know, I think he probably will KO TKO him. Look, it's one of those fights where with Rosenstruck, sometimes he looks great, and other times he looks, you know, there for the taking. I think someone like Blades is a bad style matchup for him.
If you play into his
The
game,
thing,
like he'll cause you a lot of trouble. But if
yeah.
you play your own game, if Blades plays to his strengths, I think it's a tough night.
Yeah, it really is. The thing with Blades, though, he does leave himself open sometimes, and we've seen him, you know, getting sparked in fights against, you know, most recently against your boy Derek Lewis. So
Yeah,
he is open for it, but yeah, I would fancy Blades there as well. So yeah, my last one then, that's your three. So you've gone for Lawler, Volkanovski on points, and then Blades, and I've gone for Lawler as well.
Blades by KO,
Um,
yeah,
Blades by
TKO.
KO, sorry, yeah. Sorry, I'm just pulling up mine here. So I've gone for Lawler, Shevchenko by submission. And my last one, I couldn't decide between the two of them. So, and I saw this price. So Marlon Moraes and Dashvili to end in a KO or TKO, a 3-1. Now,
Mm.
I like this because I think I kind of not half fancy, like maybe 25% fancy Moraes to catch him, you know, and knock him out. And I'm not like really confident in that. But if that doesn't happen, Moraes has been getting very tired recently, you know, and has been kind of, I don't, not giving up is the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Being broken, I suppose, is a better word. And Dashvili kind of breaks people. Now, he's not the biggest with output and stuff like that, but if he's throwing Moraes around, I can see Moraes kind of wilting and wilting and wilting and getting finished towards the end of that fight if he doesn't get the finish early, because Moraes has that ability to finish early as well. So I think 3-1 for either of them to get a finish. If I was like, that's what I think is going to happen. I don't. It could go to decision. You know, a
I
bantamweight
think
as well.
Dashvili, yeah,
Yeah,
he doesn't really. He just goes to decision. That's what he does. You know,
yeah,
he's happy enough to just play his game and not really take many chances and just kind of win the decision.
hmm
So yeah, if I was going to bet on the finish a KO in that fight, I'd probably go for the bigger price of just Moraes by himself by TKO. But
they're
he
both
is on
six to
the
one individually.
he is a bit on the wane, I think, in his career. So
hmm
it's a tough one to call. I probably see Dashvili just wrestling them to a decision. There'll probably be some hairy moments in there, but
hmm
you know, this could be a really close rounds and really close fight.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Right. Some of the other odds here: Cintin Calvillo 9-4, Jessica Andrade 1-3. I kind of avoided that as well. I think Andrade is the winner of that one, and that price is a little bit small for me. As you mentioned, Blades 3-10 to win straight up, and 12-5 for Rosenstruck. Nick Diaz 6-5, Robbie Lawler 4-6. I would avoid that Nick Diaz price. Totally, I would not go next nor near that. Shevchenko 18-1 on at the moment, 8-1 if you fancy Lauren Murphy. Alexander Volkanovski 4-7, 11-8 for Brian Ortega. Not the biggest fan of that, but you know, we'll see how that goes. Jonathan Pierce 5-4, 8-13 on Morales. Sana Jr. 7-2, Smellisberger 1-5, Maximov 8-13, 5-4 Brundage. Jalen Turner evens, Uros Medic 4-5. I know Sean Denny, I think, was talking about Medic, and he thinks that's a good price. So if you fancy that, Roxanne Metaferi 11-4, Talia Santos 1-4 on Chris Dock. You know, and Roxy has pulled a few, you know, shocks off in her UFC career. So 11-4 if you fancy that. Now I don't really fancy it, but maybe you do. Chris Dawkins 1-2, Shami 13-8, Dan Hooker 4-6, 6-5, Nazar Hakparast. Now Hakparast got his visa and he was in the airport, I saw this morning, so it looks like that fight is on, thankfully, so that's great. Marlon Moraes 15-8, Dashvili 2-5, and yeah, that's all of them there. So I think a lot of close fights as we see on big ones like this, on the big pay-per-view cards, and I'm really looking forward to it. As I said, if you're in the US or Canada, head on over to BetUS, severamed.com/BetUS, and as you can see there, 125% sign-up bonus. all the use the promo code Severe MMA up to $2,500. So that's a lot of money there. There's a lot of money to be made there. So if you're in the US and Canada, head on over there and do that. Thank you to everybody.
Always bet. Keep it fun. Always only bet what you can afford to lose.
Absolutely, and even less maybe. Bet responsibly.
You still get the same buzz out of a small bet winning.
Do, yeah.
A similar buzz anyway.
You do, absolutely.
Unless you're already an addict.
Didn't be careful. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, it's for free. So BetUS for the next 3 betting shows, for the next 3 pay-per-views, it's going to be free on here. But we have loads of stuff on Patreon. If this is your first time listening to this, we do this every month. We have loads of stuff on Patreon. I think there's something like 12 podcasts in the last 8 or 9 days, new interviews all the time as well. Patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. You'll be helping us out. You'll be literally helping us keep the lights on. We spent an hour before this almost trying to get my computer working to get this recorded. So yeah, help us out. Patreon.com/SevereMMA podcast. And enjoy the fights this weekend. We'll see you all next time. Good luck.